Welcome, everyone, to the Grassman Chronicles, Episode 6. We are your hosts, Trees from Look at the Trees, and my name is Dave from the Captive Desk. Hello, Trees. Good to see you. How you doing?
Hey, Dave. How's it going, chat?
Hello, everyone in the chat. Thanks for joining us. See, we got Sumami out there and Tobin, who wrote the most awesome tune ever on my hit list for the Grassman Chronicles. We got the Kentucky Atheist, and we got Doorknob. Welcome, everybody. Sydney joining in. Carrie Ann, hello. Mike.
Gang's all here.
Hello, Mike. Good to see everybody. Here at the Grassman Chronicles, we take a look at all kinds of otherworldly claims that include many sightings of the Grassman, Bigfoots, Sasquatches, skunk apes, and the Yeti. In this episode, we're going to take a look at Bigfoot claims that go beyond sightings, that include claims of physical contact and physical evidence for Bigfoots, Yeti, Sasquatches, Grassman, and by other names given by native peoples in the U.S. and cultures abroad, generally encompassing what most people would call Bigfoots by one name or another. In this episode, we won't be covering our usual 3 stories, as there are way too many of these physical contact stories. So, we are going to go through a sampling of them, touching on the key points and what ties them all together as physical evidence and various contact claims. So, Trees, are we ready to find out if there is physical evidence for Bigfoots?
Yeah, Dave. If you want, I can start us out with the Native American tale of the Scanicum. And let's see. The Scanicum, aka Stick Indian, aka Bigfoot, is some of the names, I guess, for this particular cryptid. Around 1885 to 1900, a native tribe were setting up a fishing camp near Keller on the St. Paul River. In the evening, the men would just figured out. I need my glasses on, Dave. All right.
You see, you had them on earlier and you took them off.
I did.
You
All
did.
Right. Around 1885 to 1900, a native tribe were setting up a fishing camp near Keller on the St. Paul River. In the evening, the men would return, tired and hungry, to camp with the day's catch. The women would work the evening away, processing the fish onto drying racks while cooking dinner. One of the women heard. Wait a minute. I don't know. I think I messed this up a little bit. Heard a recent bride through. Oh,
I think you missed while cooking dinner. One of the women, a recent bride.
Oh, I switched it up. Yeah, I did. Okay. One of the women, a recent bride, heard a recent bride through a purchase. So some kind of shady dealings. I'm not sure if she was from another tribe or if she was who she was or how that worked out exactly. But she was a recent bride through purchase, and the woman heard a scream when she went to gather water. Minutes later, her screams were heard again. The men ran to the scene, but too late to be of any help. The men stood impotently and watched as the Scanicum took her away. The men knew if they only wounded the Scanicum, it could become vengeful and hurt the woman and begin hunting all the tribes in the area. As she was carried away, she tore off pieces of her white dress, leaving a trail. She was with the Scanicum all summer when the men searching for her spotted her gathering wild potato roots. The Scanikum was asleep nearby. When she saw the men, she dropped her gatherings and quickly made her way to the men, jumping onto horseback and making her escape. Upon return, they hastily broke down camp and departed the area. She told the others that she had foraged roots, etc., which they had shared. During her stay, she became pregnant and had a son named Patrick, a very native and Sasquatchy name. Patrick, let's see, he grew up on the reservation. His body structure was described as very different from everyone else. His arms were very long, reaching about to his knees, which mine do too. So I don't know how that's a signifier, but okay.
Who's your daddy, Trees?
Yeah, Sam Squatch. Why do you ask? He was very short, though, about 5'4", 1.6 meters. For any of our UK listeners or anyone in the civilized world, he was described as tiny with a sloping forehead, a very large lower jaw, wide mouth, straight lips, and protruding teeth. He was hunchbacked with long upward peaked ears bent outward at the tops. He had very large hands and long fingers. Patrick was described as a gentleman that never mistreated his wife. They had 3 daughters and 2 sons. Unfortunately, the 2 sons passed away at an early age. The daughters all lived past 65 years, though. Mary Louise heard several times over the years that her grandfather was a Scanikum. It was said that Mary Louise and Madeline had their dad's smile, eyes, and ears. And I think that will wrap up my Scanikum story. So back over to Dave for some more news headlines.
All right. Thank you, Trees. Stories like this not only come from the past, but we have some more recent claims of getting busy with Bigfoots too, such as Sierra of Paducah, who is the talk of the town after a claim that she recently made in 2023, saying that she was impregnated by Bigfoot while on a camping trip a few months prior. It's the only logical explanation, says Sierra. My husband is sterile, so we thought we couldn't have kids. Now I'm pregnant, and the only way this could happen is if Sasquatch was the daddy. Sierra's husband is fully supporting his wife, even though her story sounds a bit far-fetched. She was on a camping trip with her girlfriends a while back, says Harold, 53, of Paducah. She said that Bigfoot snuck into her tent and had his way with her. I believe my wife. We've been married for a long time, and she's never lied to me. Meanwhile, Harold says that he looks forward to confronting Bigfoot one day soon to give him a piece of his mind. I've got some strong words for that Sasquatch, warns Harold, and he won't like hearing what I have to say, that's for sure. Then there is Peter, you may have seen all over the internet and YouTube, who says while out looking for his dog one day in the forest, he came face to face with a female Bigfoot who held him down and forced him to receive an oral assault on his privates. And subsequent encounters went further, forcing him to copulate with a frisky female Bigfoot, intent on the result being the birth of a Bigfoot hybrid human baby. Another story with a frisky Bigfoot comes from Sarah, who says she heard a noise out in the field one day and went out looking for a predator. With her shotgun at the ready, upon discovering it was a Bigfoot in the field and that his member was quite large, and since she hadn't had any relations in a long time, she figured, why not? And got frisky with Bigfoot in the field. She has since said she and Bigfoot have an ongoing frisky relationship and are trying to have a baby together. There is also Rhonda, who claims she was abducted by Bigfoot and had sexual intercourse with the beast. And this is quite an detailed story. Rhonda claims she was outside hanging wash on her clothesline when she saw the creature and was so scared all she could do was stand there frozen. The Bigfoot then carried her into the woods with an erect member. She said it was so big she couldn't believe it. She claims it was at least 14 or 16 inches long, about 40 centimeters, and it was the size of a pop can in girth. She said that it had nothing to do with her breasts. It ripped off her clothes, but otherwise the frisky squatch was actually very gentle with her. Rhonda said the creature was so gentle with her that she would do it again and again. There are also articles responding to these claims, like this one. Experts in the scientific community have been quick to voice their skepticism. Dr. Albert Furman, a renowned geneticist at the prestigious Mayfield Community College, remarked, "From a biological standpoint, the likelihood of interspecies breeding is virtually non existent. While Bigfoot sightings remain an intriguing mystery, we must rely on factual evidence, not personal anecdotes." All right, trees, what do you think? Can we crossbreed with Bigfoots? Are these
I
folks are these folks crossbreeding with Bigfoots?
I wouldn't think so. Even even if even if the claims were true, I would think that there would be enough speciation or whatever the scientific term would be that you couldn't have offspring with the creature. But I'm obviously not a scientist, so I don't know, and I don't think we know like the chromosomal makeup of a Bigfoot. So we don't even know if that would line up with our chromosome number or whatever happens that way.
And what would be a explanation? Are people actually getting carried off by perhaps another tribe out of your story? And then what about in the more modern ones? Are we just having some imagination going on here? And
I mean, a lot of these people seem, I mean, not, n- let's see how to word this. Some of them seem lonely. Let's say, like the Sasquatch hunters and the different ones. They seem like they are kind of lonely and looking for something to do, and this is what they've landed on. So I don't know if it's in that vein that these people are lonely and they can't find a partner, so they have started making up, uh, delusions of this tall, dark, hairy creature that evidently is hung like a bull elk, and he has come over there to seduce them or whatever. But like the one lady, like she borderline SA'd the Bigfoot, right? Like she had a gun. Like the Bigfoot was held at gunpoint. So, but then he eventually came around and decided that maybe she was a good cook or something. I don't know, but
Yeah, if it was a bear or something, she did have some way to defend herself.
maybe Bigfoot's a hell of a cook. We don't know. We don't
We
know.
don't know. We just don't know. And then, of course, you could always say that some of these folks are just looking for their 15 minutes of fame, uh, getting into one of these papers. And what do you think? What was his name? Harold. Is Harold going to have a Bigfoot baby with his wife, or is it going to look like the proverbial milkman?
It sounded like Harold was having a moment. He was angry at Bigfoot, and I think he's going to be the angry stepdad of a medium-sized Bigfoot.
I agree. I agree. And hello, everybody joining in, AR and BS and Stephanie
What's
and
up, AR?
Maya
Yes,
and
Maya.
Tux and the
Good to see
Freak,
everyone.
Jur. Good to see everybody. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you're enjoying the stories. And well, what do you think? Any other comments on what we've covered so far?
Not really, other than maybe it's not one or the other of the things we said. Maybe it's a combination of all of it, of delusion, loneliness, you name it. Maybe it's this perfect storm of whatever. I don't know, but yeah, I don't have
And
much more to add.
I could go with a big scary looking guy carrying off somebody from a native tribe, because I mean those things surely could have happened. Somebody could have
Yeah.
abducted a young female Native American or a native in another country and
Well,
taken them off to their tribe, surely.
there was a lot about that story because it said like her white dress, and then it made me wonder about that time period. What type of clothing would a native be wearing? Because it said I think it said a slip. I think I said dress, but if it was a slip under a dress, what are the like? I don't think natives dress that way. And then it went from they were at their fishing camp to then they were at the reservation. It didn't like hold true. They were like running away from this creature or whatever, and because they were scared it was going to hunt down like all the Native Americans. But they ended up running back to the reservation, which is like where all the friggin' naked Native Americans are. The naked
Yeah.
Americans.
And,
But
there was superstition because different one, like I say, we couldn't cover all. There was a lot of stories to cover. There's just no way to touch on them all fairly. So these are just like a random sampling. But there are a lot of the native stories too, where they would leave out offerings of whatever fish or whatever they had as, some kind of protection from whatever they believed might be out there. So
yeah,
maybe they did believe that in some type of Bigfoot, or the Scanicum as they called it. But I would think historically and anthropologically speaking, it would be more likely that another tribe made off with the young lady.
that's kind of what I was thinking. Either a tribe or a white guy that's just really hairy. Like I don't
Yeah,
know.
a Viking rolled up on shore somewhere or something is, a type, you know,
Well, I
thing
mean, even think of that.
that
Like
could be possible.
a lot of natives couldn't even like wouldn't grow facial hair. I had a really close friend who was uh, a high percentage Native American in his genealogy, and he couldn't grow like body hair of any sort. Like he grew long hair on his head, but the rest of it, like he couldn't grow any kind of hair.
Mhm.
And so, if
Then
for them to
you show up with your hairy face and
right, you show up with a whole bunch of hair, a long hairy face where they couldn't even, see your neck, or, and then chest hair, then arm hair. I mean, a really hairy dude that's large would probably scare the shit out of some native people that had never seen a white man, let alone a giant hairy white man. And then if he did something
That's a
bad,
good.
like
That's a
took
good
their
point.
person,
That's a
yeah.
good point you brought up. That anybody that had a lot of body hair like that might definitely freak them out a little bit.
I mean, people do it all the time. Anybody that looks a little bit different from them in their group, they want to make those people the others. So that would have been a real quick way of wanting to make somebody the other if they ran into your camp and stole a human being from you guys and then, ran off with her.
I see Dank Slug joining in out there. Hello.
Good to see you, Dank.
Good to
Although I
see.
can't.
It's there. Trust me. All right. I think we'll move on then, and we'll check out some more articles about physical evidence. So, Trees, what do you have for us?
All right, Dave. I've got. Next, we have parts as parts claims of various alleged Bigfoot and Yeti parts. And I will start us off with the Pangboche hand, which is an artifact from a Buddhist monastery in Pangboche, Nepal. Supporters contend that the hand is from a Yeti, a scientifically unrecognized animal alleged to live in the Himalayan mountains. According to members of the Pangboche monastery, Lama Songwe Dorje once walked into a cave to meditate. During his stay, a Yeti revered him, bringing him food, water, and fuel. Eventually, he became the Buddhist's disciple. When the Yeti died, Sangwa collected the hand and scalp and took them back to the monastery, where they remained as sacred relics, periodically paraded around the village as a fertility ritual, until they were discovered in the modern age. Oil businessman and adventurer Tom Slick first heard accounts of the possible existence of a Yeti hand held as a ritual artifact in the mountains of in the monastery Pangboche during one of his first abominable snowman treks in 1957. The Slick expeditions were the first to bring photos of the hand back to the West. During later Tom Slick sponsored expeditions in and around the Himalayas, his associates gathered more information on the Pangboche hand. An effort to further examine it was planned. In 1959, a member of Slick's expedition that year, Peter Byrne, which sounds painful, reportedly stole pieces of the artifact after the monks who owned it refused to allow its removal for study. Byrne stated that he was shown what looked to be a large mummified primate hand. Byrne claimed to have replaced the stolen fragments with human bones that he had brought, rewrapping it to hide his thievery. Byrne smuggled the bones from Nepal into India, after which actor James Stewart allegedly smuggled it out of the country in his luggage because he could bypass security, and he hid it in his wife's undergarments. Cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman rediscovered this story while while writing Tom Slick's biography in the 1980s. Coleman confirmed details of the incidents with written materials in the Slick archives, interviews with Byrne, and correspondence with Stewart. Byrne later confirmed the Pangboche hand story via a letter from Stewart that Byrne published in a general book on Nepalese wildlife. London University primatologist William Charles Osmond Hill conducted a physical examination of the pieces Byrne supplied. His first findings were that it was hominid in nature. Later, in 1960, he decided that the Pangboche fragments were a closer match with a Neanderthal. A finger bone from the hand was tested, and the DNA shown it to be human. Dr. Robert Ogden commented, "Human is what we were expecting, and human is what we got." So that is my parts is parts part. So back to you, Dave.
All right, trees. We have this story from a small village monastery in northeast Nepal that claims to have a 300-year-old Yeti scalp, once carried by Sir Edmund Hillary, the first Westerner to reach the top of Mount Everest. Across the globe for inspection by zoologists and other experts. Despite its purported provenance, it did not pass inspection. The half football shaped scalp sits in a cabinet at the temple or gomba of the village called Kumjung, and for a few Nepalese rupees, the monks will take out a small glass fronted box containing the scruffy haired dome. But no matter how much the donation, the scalp stays in the padlock box. The relic is purported by the village to have come from one of the abominable snowmen of Himalayan legend and was found by Hillary and journalist Desmond Dogue in 1960 when they were on expedition to look for evidence of the big-footed beast. They found the scalp in the home of an old Kumjung woman who said it was a good luck charm for the village and was anxious about letting it leave in order to avoid disaster befalling her village. So Hillary agreed to a deal. If he made a donation to the monastery and a local school and took with him a guardian for the scalp from the Gomba, they would let it leave and be examined. The scalp turned out to have been fashioned from the hide of an animal, most likely a goat antelope native to the Himalayas. After its trip and reported debunking, it was returned safely to the monastery. Sir Edmund Hillary kept trying, though. He claimed to have found Yeti hair. He even led an expedition to find the elusive creature, but his results were inconclusive. After Hillary and Nepalese Indian alpinist Tenzing Norgay made their climb, dozens of others followed in their footsteps, searching for the Yeti. The U.S. State Department took the idea of a Yeti so seriously, it issued 3 rules for anyone who would encounter one, including making a promise not to kill it. There is also a femur bone from the decayed body of a purported Yeti that was found in a cave in Tibet. Biologist Charlotte Lindquist tested DNA from the bone for Icon Films' Yeti or Not TV special. The bone was determined to be from a Tibetan brown bear. There is also a hair sample said to have come from a Yeti that a Jesuit priest spotted in the Nepalese mountains in the 1950s. According to producers for Yeti or Not, linguists sequenced DNA from the hair and found that it was also from a Tibetan brown bear. The Everest Himalayan range in Nepal is home to the world's tallest mountain and several endangered bear species that have been mistaken for Yeti. Himalayan brown bears from Deosai National Park, Pakistan, are among the sources of DNA from samples purported to be Yetis. The creatures are threatened by modern development. To appreciate how much of a mystery modern science has solved, one must understand how many famous people have been driven to brave terribly snowy conditions and scale the world's highest mountain in search of answers about the Yeti. Yetis are believed by some to be shy, furry, human like snowmen who live in the remote mountainous regions of Nepal and Tibet. The name sounds much more poetic than what it translates to, which in the local Sherpa language is that thing there. Yeti was mistranslated to abominable snowman when stories of the creature captured the imaginations of people in the West. Initially, the creatures were thought to be fictional stories the Nepalese would tell children to keep them from wandering into the wild. The Yeti became included in more serious Sherpa Buddhist tradition about 350 years ago, when a holy man named Sangwa Dorje took up residence in a cave near the remote village of Pangbuche, which had clear view of Everest. Legend has it that Lama Sangwa Dorje wanted to remain alone, meditating. To help, friendly Yetis brought him food, water, and fuel. When one Yeti died, the holy man kept its scalp and hand as a reminder of the creature's kindness. Alrighty then. When the Lama created a temple, these Yeti relics became a main attraction. It wasn't the relics that drove high-profile explorers in search of these elusive creatures. Rather, it was photographs taken in 1951 by Eric Shipton that were printed in newspapers around the world. Shipton, a mountaineer, found mysterious footprints about 12 or 13 inches long, about twice as wide as his boot, on the lower part of a glacier in the Himalayas. The pictures sparked dozens of expeditions into the mountains to find more proof. One included the famous Sir Edmund Hillary, the Western explorer to reach the summit, the first Western explorer to reach the summit of Mount Everest, who said Hillary also found a tuft of long, black, thick, coarse hair at 19,000 feet on Everest. He again led an expedition to find the Yeti, but the results were inconclusive. Biologist Charlotte Lindquist used mitochondrial DNA sequencing to examine 24 Yeti samples, including hair, bone, skin, and feces. Mitochondrial DNA has been used in archaeology to solve a number of mysteries. For example, science used it to determine that fossilized human feces samples found in a cave in Oregon were at least 14,000 years old, suggesting that humans have lived in what is now the United States a lot longer than historians had thought. Using this technique on the Yeti samples, Lindquist and the team discovered that the items came from a Himalayan brown bear and a black bear. There also was once a tooth tested for Yeti. It turned out to be from an animal in the dog family. Then there's also a claimed paw of a Yeti kept in a monastery. That testing came back as being from a black bear. And there is another bone kept as a monastic relic. It was tested and came from a Tibetan brown bear. There is a bearable ending to these Yeti claims. A 2014 genetic analysis of 30 hair samples from anomalous primates believed to be Yetis came from a variety of better known animals like a Paleolithic polar bear, other bears and dogs. One sample was believed to be from a hybrid bear, but that idea has come under question. Though Yeti devotees may be disappointed in this news, Lindquist was not. The findings, she said, will help scientists better understand the history and evolution of local bears. The Himalayan brown bear is a subpopulation of the more commonly found brown bear that is critically endangered and threatened with extinction. The Asian black bear, known for its dark fur and a white collar of fur around its neck, is listed by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature as vulnerable. Both are threatened by illegal hunting and trade in parts and loss of habitat. So, if this is what they think is a Yeti, leave them alone. They're endangered. Jeez. Trees. Back to you for some more parts as parts.
All right, Dave. The next one is about American YouTuber and wildlife presenter Nathaniel Coyote Peterson, which this is the only time I'm going to try to refer to him as that because he's not cool enough to be called Coyote. More like Baloney Peterson. Surprised his fans with a Facebook post where all good science comes from is a Facebook post. Everybody knows this. He had a Facebook post in which he claimed to have found a non-human primate skull, leaking pics here before they're taken down by and before government officials try to seize our footage, Peterson wrote in a post, because you know that scientists, if you would discover a Bigfoot, Dave, what's the first thing that's going to happen? Black helicopters are going to show up at your house and they are going to seize your evidence of Sasquatch or Bigfoot. That's just how it goes. So,
Just wrong.
Right. So, before they show up to seize his footage, Peterson wrote in the post, adding he was waiting for a primatologist to take a closer look at the skull. Absolutely unreal, we thought. It was a bear skull when we found it, Peterson said. I can 100% guarantee it's not. Peterson conveniently did not mention Bigfoot in the post, though it was Sasquatch he was hunting for in the show that he found it, merely hinting that it could be from something mysterious. I don't know if it's from what you all think it is, or, I'm sorry, this is a quote. I don't know if it's from what you all think it might be, but I can but I can't explain finding a primate skull in the Pacific Northwest without wondering. What do you believe? He titled his video on the subject, Bigfoot Skull Found in Canada. In the video, Peterson stumbles across the skull while his crew attempt to take overhead shots from a drone, from probably multiple drones. After initially saying it was a bear skull, He then says, "I'm almost afraid to say it. That could be a Sasquatch skull." While his skeptical crew tells him to put it back, believing it to be a primate, he puts it in a like a plastic grocery bag and then puts it into his satchel. Without his crew's knowledge, he did that, which is illegal to do without a permit, assuming that the skull is a natural object, and he removed it from the park. The video ends with no conclusion of what the skull actually is. So, what do scientists think? It's not exactly the only option. There's a chance it could be a real skull, but there are suggestions that a replica gorilla skull that can be purchased on AliExpress. This is undoubtedly a gorilla skull, as obvious from numerous anatomical details, as verified by a list of experts. Vertebrae paleontologist Darren Naish told Live Science, adding, "There is no way the skull is from an unknown species. Also, it seems to be identical to a commercially available cast of a gorilla skull." Is it possible that Peterson stumbled across a replica of a gorilla skull discarded in the Pacific Northwest wilderness for unknown reasons and has been taken in by the resin replica in his hunt for Bigfoot? That seems to be more likely than finding an actual Bigfoot skull. So what do you think, Dave?
Well, I mean, it's plastic, right? It's not even a real skull. I mean, he could have at
That,
least got a real skull to bury in the woods, right? I mean,
yeah, it's a gorilla skull, so you could feasibly come across an actual one made of real bone. Because to me, like, I've seen resin replicas of numerous things. Like, they can't replicate the tiny imperfections and the tiny variations you would see in dirt. Well, that one, me and you both saw the video of him discovering this
yeah,
this thing.
if you want to see the video, folks, I believe it's
If
called some like Bigfoot skull found in Canada or something like that.
if you put Coyote Peterson Bigfoot skull in the search of YouTube here, well, you can find the videos. So I looked at it, and I also made the observation, and you can check this out too. Um, Coyote Peterson, or Baloney Peterson, and his crew are all wearing spotless gear, spotless clothes, spotless shoes, and they are in this muddy ass wet environment in the Pacific Northwest, which leads me to believe they walked right to that specific area and said, "Oh, look here, a Bigfoot skull." And because if anybody who's ever been hiking or has yeah, been hiking or out into the wilderness and bought gear and then taking it out to some wet, muddy place, your stuff gets muddy and wet. But if you look at their shoes and their stuff, it's not even it doesn't look, it looks like they got out of a vehicle. Like, it looks like there should be price tags hanging off their clothes still.
It definitely looks staged, and yeah, it's like, oh, let's step out of our vehicle into the woods. Oh, what do you know? There's a skull right here on the ground. Oh, what's the luck of that, right?
And not back to kind of what I was saying, everybody's hair was perfect too. Like they just got out of the makeup truck,
Gotta have good hair. Gotta have good
like
hair.
one dude had a faux hawk, one of the douchebag faux hawk deals going. Like, it was ridiculous. It seemed staged and fraudulent and deceptively edited, and you know I've done
let's
deceptive editing myself, so like I know how easy it is to do. So like,
let's add in this harms the community because he's supposedly part of the Bigfoot hunter community. So he's giving his own community a bad name by doing a really poorly planned stunt. Like we said, it's made of plastic. It's not even bone. I mean, if he, yeah, like you said, he could have got some kind of a skull, at least something, and maybe broke it into pieces, to make it kind of difficult to at first glance, right? But
yeah,
I mean, it's plastic. I mean, come on, guy.
it shouldn't
That
take
just right
that much.
there. Yeah.
A pocket knife. If he would have scraped it with a pocket knife, he could have seen that. Oh, this is friggin' plastic. Burn it with a lighter. Oh
Yeah.
shit, it caught on fire. Like like I don't. There's a million different ways just to field test it right there in front of you. That a a professional that is supposedly a wildlife, and that's another thing. His credentials said he was a wildlife presenter. So the dude has seen bones before. He's
Mhm.
found because they said, "Oh, when we were in West Virginia, we found a bear skull," and then they say that that's a bear skull when they first walk up on it, and they stage it to be like, "Oh, we don't even think it's a Bigfoot skull. We think it's a bear skull," and then he pulls it out, and it's got that big crest right down the middle, like a gorilla skull has, like so it looked immediately like a primate to anybody that looked at it.
And it didn't even look like it was buried well. It looks like they just kind of stuck it under a log and threw some leaves up against it.
It looked like they tried to make it look cool.
Yeah,
Like they put it there and thought, oh, maybe it was the editor or director of the whatever the photography, but it was like a perfect eye socket was looking out of the mud at you, the camera, or what, you know what I mean? Like it was just this. It was a
it's
setup.
really bad. It's
Yeah.
really. And now, what is the end game? I mean, did it was it just for the headlines? Because
That's what I
there's
was
no
thinking.
way he could have presented that to anybody that wouldn't have said, "Dude, it's plastic," right?
Well, that's even like when the one cameraman looked like he was not into it at all. He's wearing a green jacket, and he was like the one telling him to leave it, and the way he was saying stuff, he was saying it like he was reading it. So I think he didn't even like being a part of it, is what it didn't seem like. But the Baloney Peterson was very enthusiastic with his like Clint Eastwood Western looking blanket coat he was wearing. Like it's just it's has hipster goofball wrote all over it.
I see Al and Kentucky Atheist and Ember stopping through. Good to see everybody. And I
Awesome.
wanted to mention the Kentucky Atheist is giving away books from Dave Warnock.
Oh, yeah,
Dave
good.
Warnock has been documenting his battle with terminal disease online, and he has
Believe
a
it's
book out. And Kentucky is giving away copies, and we want to help out because the book sales go back to Dave, and he does need a little help with. He's getting to that point where he needs some care and everything, and so this is a great way to help out. All you got to do is go over to any of Kentucky Atheist's videos, and I believe you put hashtag book. Just drop that comment over there, and you can get a free book, and it goes back through to help Dave and everything. And Kentucky Atheist really wants to give away these books, so all you got to do is go to his channel, pick one of his recent videos there, the first ones that pop up, and just put hashtag book in the comments. All right. And Kentucky wants to give away these books. So let's help him out, help Dave out. And of course, we wish him all the best in his, in his care days here. I don't know how to word it well, but we all, our hearts are with him.
Yeah, medical problems suck, especially in America, how our healthcare systems are set up. So in an ideal world, Dave wouldn't need for anything. He would be able to just go get health care that he needs, but we know that that ain't how simple things are. So definitely, if you can manage to help him out, help him out.
And you can't ask for an easier way to help out. Like I say, Kentucky Atheist, his name's up on the screen right now. A lot of you are already subscribed at his channel. Only take you a second. Just hashtag book in the comments, and he's going to pick winners and wants to have, like I say, help Dave out. And you get an autographed book. I mean, that's cool right there. You know what I mean? So who doesn't want an autographed book, right? So get over at Kentucky Atheist channel when you get a second and drop that hashtag book over there, right? Okay. So what else do we have to say about him then, other than he's full of baloney? Is that what we're gonna?
That's what I'm going. I'm going with
Not much
that.
more to say on that.
Staged and fraudulent is what I'm going with.
Yeah, and it's and he hurts his own community that are sincerely trying to find evidence of, and maybe not a Bigfoot, but maybe just some kind of unknown species out there or whatever. That's all part of the community too. And
anyone
deliberately doing something like this is just wrong, right?
Anyone in that community doing honest work and doing hard work, actually hiking out into the wilderness, carrying gear and whatnot, and doing actual physical labor to try to find evidence and then documenting it properly. I think that, like you said, was just an insult to anyone that's doing it legitimately. That's a slap in the face.
And there's a link to Kentucky Atheist channel up on the screen there. Again, click, hashtag book. That's all you got to do. All right. So take care of that.
Thanks,
right? All right. So we are going to move on from the plastic gorilla skull and let's see what else we can come up with. Let's take a look at what Melba S. Ketchum claims to have found out about Bigfoots. In November 2012, a Texas veterinarian made national news claiming that genetic testing confirmed that not only is the legendary Bigfoot real, but is in fact a human relative that arose some 15,000 years ago. The study by Melba S. Ketchum suggested such cryptids had sex with modern human females that resulted in hairy hominin hybrids. She says, our data indicates that the North American Sasquatch is a hybrid species, the result of males of an unknown hominin species crossing with female Homo sapiens. The scientific community was rightly skeptical, partly because Ketchum's research, which spanned 5 years, had not appeared in any peer-reviewed scientific journal. Now, the study has finally been published. Kind of. And it raises more questions than answers. The piece, written by a team of researchers led by Ketchum, is titled Novel North American Hominins: Next Generation Sequencing of 3 Whole Genomes and Associated Studies, and published in the De Novo Scientific Journal. The study, which used 111 samples of alleged Bigfoot hair, blood, mucus, toenails, bark scrapings, saliva, and skin with hair and subcutaneous tissues attached, were collected by dozens of people from 34 sites around North America. Hairs were compared to reference samples from common animals, including human, dog, cow, horse, deer, elk, moose, fox, bear, coyote, and wolf, and were said not to match any of them. The report concluded We have extracted, analyzed, and sequenced DNA from over 100 separate samples obtained from scores of collection sites throughout North America. Hair morphology was not consistent with human or any known wildlife hairs. DNA analysis showed two distinctly different types of results. The mitochondrial DNA was unambiguously human, while the nuclear DNA was shown to harbor novel structures and sequences. The data conclusively proves that the Sasquatch exist as an extant hominin and are a direct maternal descendant of modern humans. So, what can we make of this? The most likely interpretation is that the samples were contaminated. Whatever the sample originally was, Bigfoot, bear, human, or something else, it's possible that the people who collected and handled the specimens, mostly Bigfoot buffs with little or no forensic evidence gathering training, accidentally introduced their DNA into the sample, which can easily occur with something as innocent as a spittle, sneeze, or cough. Though the study claims that throughout this project, exhaustive precautions were taken to minimize or eliminate contamination in the laboratory, the likelihood that the samples were contaminated in the field by careless collection methods, normal environmental degradation, and other factors was not addressed. In some cases, the person or persons submitting the alleged Bigfoot sample also contributed a sample of their own DNA to help rule out contamination. But the possibility of contamination by others, such as hunters or hikers, could not be ruled out either. How did the team definitively determine that the samples were from Bigfoot? Well, they didn't. The report details where Bigfoot samples were retrieved on hair found on tree and hair found on wire fence are typical. In other words, the people collecting the samples didn't see what animal left it there, possible weeks or months earlier. But if it seems suspicious, it might be Bigfoot. Ketchum's study had been rejected by other scientific journals. So, what about the journal that finally published the study, the De Novo Scientific Journal? The journal has no other studies, articles, papers, or reviews. Ketchum's is the only paper the journal has published. No libraries or universities subscribe to it, and the journal and its website apparently did not exist 3 weeks before this article was written. There's no indication that the study was peer reviewed by other knowledgeable scientists to assure quality. It is not an existing, known, or respected journal in any sense of the word. Unfortunately, it wouldn't get published, so they made up their own journal and put it in it. Well, trees, what do you think? Was that was that creationist sounding where you can't get published, so you just start your own journal and publish your own stuff?
That's what it sounded like to me, Dave. Yeah, I'm skeptical to say the least.
That's very weak. Hello, Asho. Good to see you. Beck, Bree,
Asho,
Doorknob, all joining in. Hello, everybody. Yeah, I mean, that's really, really bad when you're promising something, and the only place it comes out is in a magazine or a blog or in the journal that you started yourself that only has your own single. It doesn't even have any other articles, or all it has is just that in it. It's like mom.
Yeah, that's like
mom bought it for him, you know. She felt sorry
That's like
nobody
a
would.
straight to YouTube movie, of research.
Yeah, that
All right.
that is really weak. I'm sorry, folks out there, but sometimes we kid about Ken Ham, who also started his own journal so that he could say that his scientists had stuff published in a journal, but it's his journal, and he's the boss and owns the company that they all work for, and it
That's
it
not circular or weird or anything, Dave.
and it
You're
it's
throwing
kind of sad.
stone.
It's kind of sad. Okay, don't do that. Don't do that. It's really sad. Okay.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
All right. So trees. I think you've got something else to mention too. So what have you got
I
for us next?
I've got let's see, I've got one more. Well, let's see, what do I got here? Okay, Los Angeles 2008 is where this is set. Researchers said that that the hairy heap claimed by two men to be the corpse of the mythical half ape, half man creature was actually a full body rubber gorilla costume. This the discovery adds another dimension to what appears to be an elaborate hoax by Matthew Witten and Rick Dyer, the owners of a company that offers Bigfoot merchandise, coincidentally enough.
What a
That's
coinkydink. What a You could have knocked me over with a feather with that one, trees.
I
Really.
mean, it was a rubber Bigfoot costume from two dudes that run like basically a rubber Bigfoot costume factory. Is basically what we're dealing with here. All right, where am I at here? The discovery adds another dimension to what appears to be an elaborate hoax by Matthew Witten and Rick Dyer, the owners of a company that offers Bigfoot merchandise that sparked an internet frenzy. The pair said they discovered the Bigfoot corpse while hiking in the woods of northern Georgia with a dubious photo and the commercial interests of the alleged discoverers, drawing attention from Australia to Europe and then even the New York Times. The men held a news conference. I remember this thing too. They held a news conference which revealed the results of the tests uh, on genetic material from the alleged remains, which were frozen and put in a freezer. Like I don't even know if they have them like that anymore, but it was the big chest freezer that you could lock, like old school. Put it in the freezer and did not prove. Or wait a minute. The alleged remains, which were frozen in ice and put in a freezer, did not prove the creature's existence. Steve Coles, executive director of the website SasquatchDetective.com and host of Sasquatch Detective Radio, said that a rubber suit was found after they thawed it. He said he was part of a team involved Tom Biscardi. Oh, Tom Biscardi, host of a weekly online radio show about Bigfoot, who was contacted by the bullshitters in question. Call's statement also, or what do I have here? Also carried by Bacardi's website, searchingforbigfoot.com, referred to the claim that the corpse of a creature fitting the description of Bigfoot had been discovered. This has since been proven a lie, said Coles. In a detailed statement, Coles said researchers had used used heat to speed up the thawing process. Within an hour, they had at least part of the head, which was hollow, and over the next hour, a break appeared near the feet. As the team was examining, Coles reached in and grabbed a rubber foot, putting an end to the investigation. So
This
that's
again, this again is so weak. I mean,
it is. I remember seeing like the actual real time thing because they do you remember like they actually published this in the news like it was legit like these
well,
dudes in Georgia
one of
found it.
these, I don't know if it was this, but one of these sold on eBay for like $65,000. I guess somebody was expecting a Bigfoot body to come in the mail, and they ended up suing over it because I don't think he ever got a Bigfoot FedEx package or anything.
If I got a soggy rubber suit, I would be pretty fucking mad for 65 grand. Ugh.
65 grand. Yeah. And
Yeah,
again,
that was,
what did they think? At least if you had, you know, something you pieced together from some dead animals or something, at least it's some flesh and bone. I mean, this is as bad as the plastic skull. What did they think that nobody was going to notice? Nobody would notice it was a rubber suit.
yeah, it's like Baloney Peterson saw that and thought he could outdo it with a more realistic piece of stuff that you know what I mean? Like that's just insane to me. Not that like it's not even that it's still worse to me that the Peterson dude did it, but like these guys and they had the Bigfoot store. So they had
Well,
financial motivation to do all of this. Like I just can't.
well, if you think Rick Dyer learned his lesson, to paraphrase Jay Bundy, hold on to your rear ends, okay? Because we've got another one from Rick Dyer. A taxidermist has preserved a Bigfoot body so it will be able to be taken on tour. Rick Dyer's marketing manager, Andrew Clacy, told the news. I've heard people say it's fake. They haven't seen the body. They haven't studied it, he said. They're just guessing. They're not an expert in what they're talking about. He was not upset about the criticism. Of course, a good marketing manager should stand up for his client, I guess. But he says in one of the pictures, there's a long scar on the body from an autopsy. The animal looks like a cross between a human and gorilla, but the DNA test said it was an unknown species, Clacy said. There's no DNA of a current animal, he said. It came back unknown from a university, an unknown university, testing it. The university is not releasing the data to us yet, he said. But he said that the college, which at this point does not want to be identified due to media attention, has much more definitive proof that will make it clear Bigfoot is real, he said. Bigfoot's existence is not as far-fetched as it may seem, Clacy said. A lot of people have seen Bigfoot. They just never reported it to somebody, he said. The furry animal is carnivorous and lives mostly on deer and other animals, Dyer has said. It has a detached jaw, so it can make its mouth very wide and hunts at night. Dyer claims he found Bigfoot on September 6, 2012. This is about 4 years after the rubber suit in the ice cube. After he was told of reports of the creature by some local homeless people. I tracked a creature. I shot it, he said on his blog. With tears in my eyes, I watched it take its last breath, he said. The Las Vegas resident said it would not have been possible to take Bigfoot alive. This is a monster, he said. To capture it alive, you would have to have a budget that I don't have to do it, he said. The hunter said he wanted to search the area for physical evidence of the animal, like footprints or broken shrubbery, but said it was impossible to tell because of the homeless people also living in the woods. Major Larry Young, the game warden with Texas Parks and Wildlife, told the Houston Chronicle that it is not a crime to hunt Bigfoot. We don't acknowledge that one exists, but if you wanted to shoot and kill a Bigfoot in the state of Texas, you would just need a hunting license, he said. Not mentioned in the account is an adolescent male Bigfoot Dyer said he also killed and is currently being studied by a lab. Dyer also said he saw a third creature that he presumes was a female. The creature has the same male and female reproductive organs as humans, though Dyer admits he hasn't examined a female Bigfoot, but he presumes they do exist. Because how else could they reproduce, he said. Dyer said he feels vindicated that he finally captured Bigfoot. Alas, though, as reported in 2014 by the San Antonio Express, after a falling out with his Bigfoot crew, master tracker Rick Dyer, whose new title may be, quote, con artist, unquote, admitted that the 8-foot-tall body named Hank that wooed crowds is a prop made to look like a Bigfoot. And I am guessing there wasn't any university studying the prop he made either. Rick Dyer and crew seem to be con men. Do they think someone isn't going to get curious and want to examine these Bigfoots he repeatedly tried to peddle for profit or some kind of a trophy? Trees, 2 strikes and you're out on Rick Dyer. I mean, what's
I mean, 1 strike and you're out with me. Like with that, when it's that blatant, like I don't even know what to say. Like how, like I understand that some people really, really want to believe in Bigfoot. I'm one of them. Like I would love to find evidence of one, but like, I'm going to be honest. Like I ain't never seen anything that can't be explained. And I did believe in it at one time. So, go back to episode 1, or was it 1? I think it was 1. But either way, like, it's just insane to me, some of the links people go to, like you said, that are going, someone is going to come there and inspect this, whatever it is you have, whether it's a bone, a hand, a scalp, a whole body, whatever. Someone's going to come and look at it. Otherwise, why do the thing? Like,
yeah, Dank was saying that here in Australia, Bigfoot are called yowies. I am familiar with that. And we will be covering a lot more Bigfoots to come. So I'm sure we will get to some yowies eventually. It says a term given by the indigenous peoples here who have a cultural connection.
hairy people.
Hairy people who they recognize as a tribe in their own right. And yeah, we've got lots of people commenting. Carrie said, or they could lay eggs.
That's what I was thinking. Bigfoot eggs.
Bigfoot eggs. There you go.
Or maybe like gremlins, if they get wet, They like shoot little pods off of them that hatch. That's somewhat of an egg. That spore maybe.
See, mommy says Trump's toupee is probably made from Bigfoot hair.
Well, that Bigfoot scalp had a bald patch.
It did.
Trump's got money and he's got a private jet. He could fly up to that place near Everest.
He swiped that thing out of the box, didn't he?
I bet you he just shaved it because it looks like it's got like male pattern baldness. So I bet you he just whacked off what he needed, and then put it on his head. Yeah, he whacked off and put it on his head. That's what I think of Trump. But anyway, like I
Carrie wants to know where all the venison bones are with Bigfoot tooth marks.
He probably can digest bones like a hyena.
Must be eating the bones.
Because he's a nocturnal snake jawed grass man. That's how it goes.
You're gonna have to make him a little tougher than that, Carrie. We got that one too easy. Let's see what else somebody's saying.
But Bigfoot should still either have like the owl pellets, like how when owls eat something, they cough up that little nugget of all the bones and undigestibles.
Maybe something's got to come back out. Yeah, something's got to come back out.
Maybe there's little Bigfoot pellets out there and Bigfoot eggs.
Jers says the unidentified college is someone's girlfriend in Canada. Yeah, that.
Yeah.
I don't think there was ever the college.
You guys don't know her.
Exam. That's why it was all. Well, we can't give the name of it. And we got Bigfoot. Bigfoot was blind, but now he can see. Bigfoot has found Jesus.
Yes.
And we got. I would think if a human female had a Bigfoot baby, they wouldn't be able to have kids again. I'm betting sex wouldn't be so happy after that. Yeah, that talk about an ouch. Huh? I mean, women go through enough in childbirth. Imagine that thing coming out 2-3 times as big. That's not going to be good.
Yeah,
not going to be good.
But maybe that sloped forehead is for ease of birth. You don't know. Maybe that's the evolutionary advantage of the sloped forehead is that eases its way out.
Yeah, you're talking about your giant freezers to hide the bodies in.
Yeah.
I've noticed they're a lot smaller these days. Maybe they're doing that on purpose.
Precaution. Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody's comments. And everybody having their little discussions back and forth too. Some humorous comments too, and questions going on. So, all right. Okay, so trees. I think you have some study here to talk about next, right?
Yes, I have some scientific data. Yeah, so it's kind of a long section here, so we'll get into it.
Everybody get comfy here. We gotta this is the science. Now we're gonna give you the science here. We want to give you the good science too, okay? Yes, we like to joke around here a little bit, but we're trying to do this, as fair as possible. We're giving you the stories, what the people are saying, and what the science is saying. So trees, go ahead and tell us, what is the science saying?
All right. In the first ever systematic genetic survey, we've used rigorous, not me and Dave, but these people talking to us here. We've used rigorous decontamination followed by mitochondrial 12S RNA sequencing to ID the species origin of 30 hair samples attributed to anomalous primates. 2 Himalayan samples, one from Ladakh, India, the other from Bhutan, India. or Nepal, right around there somewhere. I can't remember. I don't have that written down. Had their closest genetic affinity with a Paleolithic polar bear, Ursus maritimus. Otherwise, the hares were from a range of known extant mammals. Mystery surrounds the species identification of so-called anomalous primates, such as the Yeti of the Himalayas, the Almasti of Central Asia, and the Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Grassman of North America. There are decades of eyewitness reporting and footprint evidence pointing to the existence of large, unidentified anomalous primates in many regions of the world. On the other hand, no bodies or recent fossils of such creatures have ever been authenticated. There are no shortage of myth and legend about these supposed creatures' origin, ranging from surviving populations of collateral hominids, such as Homo neanderthalis, Neanderthalensis, Homo florensis, extinct, or I believe extinct apes such as Gigantopithecus, or even unlikely hybrids between Homo sapiens and other mammals. Modern science has mostly avoided this field, and advocates frequently cite this as being rejected by science, in quotes. Science neither accepts or rejects anything without examining the evidence. To apply this philosophy to the study of anomalous primates and to introduce some clarity to this often murky field, we have a systematic genetic survey of hair samples attributed to these animals. Only two tongue-in-cheek scientific publications report DNA sequence data from anomalous primates. Milinkovic, after analysis of a Nepalese sample, confirmed Captain Haddock's suspicions that the Yeti was an ungulate, which, if you guys don't, or guys and gals and beyond the binaries don't know what an ungulate is, that is, I believe, like a deer or a goat or something like that. The same conclusion was reached by Coltman after analysis of Sasquatch hair from Alaska. Here are the materials and methods used. Hair sample submissions were solicited from Museum of Zoology, Lausanne, and the University of Oxford. A total of 57 samples were received and subjected to microscopic, and infrared fluorescence to eliminate obvious non-hairs. This excluded one sample of plant material and one of glass fiber. Of the screened samples, 37 were selected for genetic analysis based on provenance or historic interest. Lengths of individual hair shafts were thoroughly cleaned to remove surface contamination, ground into a buffer solution in a glass homogenizer, then incubated for 2 hours at 56 degrees Celsius in a solution containing proteinase K before extraction with phenylchloroform isomal alcohol. PCR amplification of the ribosomal mitochondrial DNA 12S fragment corresponding to the BPS 1093 to 1196 of the human mitochondrial genome was carried out in brackets. It says 9, 10. I'm not sure what that means. Recovered sequences were compared to GenBank accessions for species identification. Results. And this is in reference to a table that was provided. Table 1 shows the GenBank species identification of sequence matching 30 samples from which DNA was recovered. 7 samples failed to yield any DNA sequences despite multiple attempts, as the sequence of 12S mitochondrial RNA segment is identical in Homo sapiens and Homo neanderthalis. Amplification and sequence of mitochondrial DNA, hypervariable region 1, BPS 16,000 to 16,400 of number 25072 was carried out and identified as being identical to the revised Cambridge reference sequence 11, and thus Homo sapiens of likely European matrilineal descent. Other submitted samples were living in their normal geographic range. The exceptions were samples 25025 and 25191, Ursus maritimus, polar bears from the Himalayas. Number 2504, or pardon me, number 25074, Ursus americanus, American black bear, and number 25075, raccoon, that were submitted from Russia, even though native to North America. And then now I'm looking at the chart. We don't have one to show them, do we, Dave?
No, we just got the table written out with what the findings were.
Okay, I got you. So I've got it.
It was too big to put up.
Basically, if I run down what we have, I've got polar bear, Sero, which is a goat deer, and those are from Lodka, India, Bhutan, and Nepal. Russia, we have, let's see, we have a bear, a horse, a cow, a horse, an American black bear, a raccoon, and a brown bear, all from Russia. Sumatra, they call it the orang pendek. It turned out to be a Malayan tapir.
Malaysian. Malaysian tapir.
I looked it up, and I think that was a typo. I think it's a Malayan.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. Somebody, if anybody knows in the chat, maybe they can correct me. But one of those two. And who is it? Is it Ember?
It's a tapir. It's not a Bigfoot.
Yeah, it's a tapir. Yeah. Then to the USA, we have basically pairs from a couple states here until we get to Washington. So we've got 2 from Arizona. They are a raccoon and a sheep. We've got 2 from California. They are both black bears. We've got 2 from Minnesota. They are a North American porcupine and a black bear. We've got 2 from Oregon. We have a black bear and a wolf / coyote / dog, because they didn't go deep enough into the genetics to figure out which. All they got was Canis lupus. So we got 2 from Texas. One's a horse and one's a human. And then we have several from Washington. What do we got here? 1, 2, I believe 9 from Washington. And we've got a black bear, wolf, cow, deer, cow, wolf, cow, and wolf. So that's basically my relevant data that I have on the chart written down.
This was a big table with a lot of information that basically gave what
It had a
gives
lot
the
of
number of the sample, it gives where it's from, what it was purported to be, what it tested out to be, and then it gives the Latin names and everything else too. But
yeah, so I skipped.
Trees was just giving you the last word on each one, which was what the finding was.
Yeah. All right, now back into the rest of this. Despite the wide range of age, condition, and condition of the submitted hair shafts, which ranged from fresh to museum specimens more than 50 years old, the majority yielded mitochondrial 12S RNA sequences, which allowed species identification with 100% sequence identity with 100% sequence identity. Of the recovered sequences, only one yielded a human sequence, indicating that the rigorous cleaning protocol had been effective in eliminating human contamination, which often leads to basically a jacked up sample that could falsely indicate human slash animal hybrids. The method used here allowed a wide range of mammalian DNA to be amplified within a single reaction. So some identification didn't go beyond genus. For example, number 25029 was identified as Canis, but did not distinguish between dog, wolf, or coyote. Sequences from samples 25025 and 25191 had a 100% match with DNA recovered from a Pleistocene fossil more than 40,000 BP of polar bear. I'm not sure what that means, but not to modern examples of the species. Hair sample number 20025 came from an animal shot by an experienced hunter in Ladakh, India, 40 years ago, who reported its behavior was very different from a brown bear, which he was quite familiar with. Hair sample number 25191 was recovered from a high altitude bamboo forest in Bhutan and was identified as a nest of Magyar equivalent of a Yeti. Okay, that's their name for a Yeti. The hairs from 25025 were golden brown, whereas the hairs from sample 25191 were reddish brown. As the match is to a segment only 104 BP long in a 125 or a 12S RNA gene, this should be regarded as a preliminary result. Other than these data, nothing is currently known about the genetic affinity of Himalayan bears. And although there are anecdotal reports of white bears in Central Asia and the Himalayas, it seems more likely the two hairs reported here are either from a previously unrecognized bear species. A previously unrecognized bear species color variants of Ursus maritimus or Ursus arctos or Ursus arctos / maritimus hybrids. Viable Arctis and maritimus hybrids are known from the Admiralty, Baranian, and Chicago Islands off the coast of Alaska, also known as the ABC Islands.
That's a lot easier to say.
Yeah.
The ABC. Why didn't they start with the ABC Islands?
They could have been a little bit considerate. Though in the ABC hybrids, the mitochondrial sequence homology, I believe that's how you say that, homology, is with
homology. Yeah.
Homology. I was trying to make sure I got enough O's in it.
Oh, whoa. I think there's enough O's in this story already.
Yeah. Okay. Homology is with modern rather than ancient polar bears. So if they are hybrids, the Lodka and Bhutan specimens are probably descended from a different hybridization event during early stages of species divergence between Arctos and maritimus. Genomic sequence data are needed to decide between these alternatives. If these bears are widely distributed in the Himalayas, they may well contribute to the biological foundation of the Yeti legend, especially if they are more aggressive towards humans than known indigenous species. With the exception of these two samples, none of the submitted samples returned a sequence that could not be matched with an extant mammalian species, often a domesticate. While this survey cannot refute the existence of anomalous primates, neither has it found any evidence in support. It seems they have not been rejected by science. Rather, the advocates of cryptozoology have more work to do in order to produce convincing evidence for anomalous primates, and now have the means to do so, and put an end to decades of ambiguity about species identification of anomalous primate samples, and set a rigorous standard for future claims, unlike the Baloney Peterson and the fellow you covered. So back to you, Dave. What are your thoughts on that mouthful of science I just spat out at you?
Yeah, you did pretty good. There's a lot of big words in there, and
I'm telling you, my mouth does not want to say them.
Jur did say it's not Malaysian, it's Malayan, like you said.
I thought
it's
so.
Also known as the Asian tapir. It looks like a double stuffed Oreo.
Yeah, I looked at them. They look like almost like a panda bear cross or a panda bear colored tapir. And I can't remember if it's Dr. Tapioca Weasel or if it's Ember that likes the tapirs. But one of them, I'm pretty sure one of them enjoy a tapir.
Yeah, we appreciate the help with the spelling there. The
yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. And don't think it's done yet. I'm going to touch on another study here real quick. You know how science is basically a conspiracy to keep the public from finding out unsettling truths, right? Including those proving the existence of cryptozoological curiosities like Bigfoot. Neither do scientists. Most would like nothing better to do. would like nothing better than to be the one who discovered such a thing. And I think Trees touched on that earlier. We'd love to find, have somebody find a Bigfoot. I know I see Bree out there. I know Bree would love it if they found a Bigfoot, wouldn't we, Bree? So that's not how they're not going at it with the big conspiracy, although we've already seen a couple of times that the reason we don't have the evidence is because the black helicopters show up and take it all away.
Well, I think I think I demonstrated a lot of the data is dense and hard to get through. But the Coyote Peterson running with his clean shoes through a muddy place and just pulling a skull out of the ground, that can be sold as exciting, but I mean, on the Discovery Channel that is not remotely scientific anymore, that's
but the entire field of creature sightings has become such a swamp of poor practices, nutball theories, and outright frauds that most scientists retreated from it long ago. With anomalous primates, I messed that one up too. In particular, the evidence is weak. No bodies have ever been found, and scientists have largely judged the question of their existence provisionally closed. The FBI analyzed a sample of alleged Bigfoot hairs in the 1970s in the interest of research and scientific inquiry that turned out to be deer hairs, according to newly released records. Peter Byrne, then the director of the Bigfoot Information Center, wrote a letter in 1976 asking that the FBI set the record straight once and for all on previous instances of the Bureau purportedly analyzing hair that was not identifiable as that of any known creatures on this continent. FBI Assistant Director Jay Cochran, who helmed the Bureau's laboratory division at the time, responded that he was unable to find any records of such an examination. Byrne, touting his group's affiliation with the Academy of Applied Sciences in Boston, requested an examination of what he saw as an exciting new sample. Quote, briefly, we do not often come across hair which we were unable to identify, and the hair we have now, about 15 hairs attached to a tiny piece of skin, is the first that we have obtained in 6 years, which we may feel of importance, close quote, Byrne wrote. Cochran responded that while the FBI laboratory focused on criminal investigations, occasionally on a case-by-case basis, in the interest of research and scientific inquiry, we make exceptions to the general policy. With this understanding, we will examine the hairs and tissues mentioned in your letter, he added. The sample was analyzed with processes including transmitted and incident light microscopy, a study of morphological characteristics such as root structure, medullary structure, and cuticle thickness, scale casts, and direct comparison with hairs of known origin under a comparison microscope. But the results were not as Byrne had hoped. It was concluded as a result of these examinations that the hairs are of deer family origin. Cochran wrote to the Academy of Applied Science Executive Vice President Howard Curtis early the following year. The results and samples were returned to Curtis for safekeeping until Byrne was anticipated back from Nepal within a week or two, said CNN. All right. The FBI did investigate it as well, and I don't know how I cut that out, but I messed up my script.
We got it. We recovered.
Yeah, I thought it was sounding not like the FBI study, but I thought it was gonna. Maybe I just let's see. Yeah, there must have been a cut there. But
That's cool. We got it.
we did get it. Yes, the FBI did study this supposed sample they had, and yeah, it was from a deer. So the let's see. Let me get back on track here. I hope I didn't screw anything else up. And forgive me because yeah, I was still kind of foggy putting this together, and we had a rough November here. We're just scratching November here at the Grassman Chronicles, and that's why we figured we would have the show this month, and we still managed to have a boo boo. So my apologies, but the conclusions here seem to say the science doesn't seem to agree with the believers in the Bigfoots. The science does show many large animals like bears that can be mistaken for Bigfoots and Yetis. Seems the believers are hopeful and are trying, but so far the samples they have gathered haven't been from Bigfoots or Yetis or by another name for Bigfoots and Yetis. What do you think, Trees? Been a lot of testing done on these samples, and they're all known species.
It's not looking very good for the Bigfoot team so far in these particular studies, I would say. It seems like a lot, and you mentioned it to me one other time a while ago that you were surprised how many cow hair specimens there were. And I was even thinking like they would be easy to access if you just didn't care because of fences. Like anywhere there's barbed wire fences, you can just grab a handful of cow hair anywhere, like because they rub up against them and scratch themselves and all kinds of stuff. So like, and then we had that picture that we were reviewing. And I said that looks like a cow, like from the back.
You did. Yep.
And
being such city folk as I am, I don't think people realize that cows are pretty furry. I mean, they are hair covered. I mean, you from a distance and from not being up close with them or anything, you don't think about how furry they really are, but they seem to be leaving a lot of hairballs.
Yeah, they do. And I mean, if they would get attacked by coyotes or wolves or something like that, and it would rip out a tuft of hair or something, I could even see that. If they weren't being dishonest, if they actually found it in nature.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, that's the thing with going live. When you screw up live. So,
hey, it happens. I tried to stall.
We'll have to trim it out later. Yeah, like I said, it's
a good time for shout outs if I had planned a little bit better.
Yeah, and I knew it was supposed to be with FBI, and yeah, it wasn't making sense. But yeah, somehow a chunk of yours ended up back down here, and I got out of place. And dang it, I looked through my script and I didn't notice it. See, even us professionals can mess up. So.
All right. Well,
but as far as that goes, yeah, we're gonna say that every time somebody submits a sample for testing, it has been found to be a known species, and claims by others that they have unknown species coming back from DNA tests are not from reliable people. And with that, we've got some something else that could be some physical evidence for some Bigfoots. So, Trees, why don't you take it over?
All right. So, here's one with numerous Bigfoot corpses, allegedly. Bigfoot bodies removed after the 1980 Mount St. Helens eruption. So the report itself is from June 30th, 2017. Let's see. A previous post dug a bit into the idea that the local Bigfoot that lived around Mount St. Helens might have been killed in the 1980 eruption. A thread on Facebook, like I said, that's where you get all your good information, took it a bit further with information about multiple reports of Bigfoot bodies being removed by first responders to the disaster. You know, the government is hiding the Bigfoot bodies. So the first account is from, let's see, this is in quotes, quote, "Who's watching you," end quote. That's the name of, must be a TV show, a radio show, article, something. And exploration of the Bigfoot phenomenon in the Pacific Northwest with Linda Coyle Suchy, Suchy. There was a supposed pile of dead animals collected. The pile was covered and no one was allowed to come near it. Armed U.S. National Guard were guarding the pile. On the day they were to move the bodies, Bradshaw was standing next to the pile and was told not to speak of what he'd seen. When the pile was uncovered, Bradshaw was stunned to see multiple Sasquatch bodies, some badly burned, some not so badly burned. He said they were placed in a large cargo net and tarped over. Freedom of Information Act or FOIA requests were filed to see if there were an official report. There were no documented reports of Sasquatch carcasses, and there were no missions to locate or recover bodies of any kind. Another report from the sane, or is that, I can't read my own handwriting here. Another report from
the same, it's from the same book, it says.
Okay, from the same book claims a Spokane man saw a Chinook twin rotor helicopter fly 100 to 150 feet overhead. He said the aircraft was carrying a large cargo net, contained at least 3 Bigfoot bodies, described as hairy gray and covered in ash. So that is that story. And
that didn't get cut out.
No. And I have experience flying in and rappelling out of Chinook helicopters. And what he was talking about was a sling load. From what he described, if there was a net hanging below the helicopter, they do it with Blackhawks, they do it with Chinooks. They have hookups that these big braided Kevlar legs come down and attach to the cargo net. And I forget how many feet long they are, and then it goes up to a clevis that you hook to the bottom of the helicopter. And I'm trying to think how far down that would hang, because it was flying 100 feet to 150 feet, and then that, I would say that sling load, that's what they call them, sling loads, would have hung down another 30 feet or something. So those things would have almost been hitting that guy, and I don't think they would have been flying that low, because you would get tangled in power lines and hit different obstacles along the way, buildings, houses, whatever, like you wouldn't be flying that low in a Chinook in the first place not with a sling load for sure.
Yeah, I've seen them moving things, and even the animals, when they move them around, they go up pretty high because they want to make sure they're clearing everything. And It's convenient, like you said again, with the black helicopters showing up and taking away all the evidence. And I don't know why they would do that. I mean,
Well, and
what's
they talk about the National Guard kind of ominously. And anybody that's been like, I was active duty, so I was active duty Army. Like, National Guard is comprised of the general population. They've got a GI Bill or something, and they do one weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. That's their field training, and then they respond to disasters and stuff like this that they're saying. So this would have been no top secret, no, there would be no secret uh thing to this, no aspect of secretness. Like, this would have been your buddy Joe from down the street and Linda from across the street. They put on their uniform, and they go do their National Guard duty when this happened, right? So, like, there would have been no secretivity about it. Like, everybody would have known. Like, it would have been general knowledge. Oh, there was an eruption. National Guard was deployed. They did X, Y, and Z, and there could have been news coverage or whatever. Like, it wouldn't have been secrets.
that's always the question: is why cover up some of these things? That
I
doesn't
would argue
seem. And
it would be
even like you
hard to
said,
cover up with the
yeah,
National Guard.
if it was just the guard or something, you figure those guys would have been all over the local news saying there
Oh
was a
yeah.
pile of Bigfoot bodies. And
Well, I mean, they take an oath too, though. They, like, if their commanders and whoever swore them to secrecy or whatever. I mean, yeah, but you're going to have leaks. You're going to have, if they were flying that low and this dude saw it. You mean to tell me there weren't news cameras and stuff that were like, holy shit, they're taking a giant net full of Bigfoot? Somebody didn't snap pictures or something. I don't care when it was. Somebody would have got a picture.
and if it was a pile of Bigfoots, I feel bad for the whole pile of Bigfoots. I mean,
Right.
that the Mount St. Helens was that pyroclastic flow, and that's not a nice way to go. It's quick, but
Yeah. I
it's
wouldn't
sad
think
that it
there
would
would be
take out that
anything.
many Bigfoots.
Well, those ones would have probably died from like smoke inhalation. They would have probably died horrifically because anything hit with lava is going to just be gone. Like, you're not going to get
Yeah,
anything.
true.
You're not going to get anything back from that.
Yeah, so how far out were they then? Yeah, if it's not immediately entombed or whatever, then they had to be way out. And you figure that where's all the other piles of bodies? You'd think there'd be lots of piles of bodies of dead animals if there was a
They kind
perimeter
of
where they were all dead.
they kind of hinted that there were other animals. Like, they called it a pile of animals, but then the only thing they identify is the Bigfoots. Like, you mean to tell me there wasn't deer horns or something else, a hoof, something sticking out of there that I saw three Bigfoot, four deer, and a fucking turkey. Like, how wasn't there other things?
And with the bodies like that, if they're just a bunch of animals, why didn't they just bury it right there? I mean,
Yeah,
hauling it all the way seems extra effort when they could have just got a front end loader and just buried him right there on the spot.
right. Yeah, it's like, to deploy the National Guard to fly burnt carcasses off the mountain. You could have done that with a truck. You could have done that with a Humvee. You could have loaded them in the back of a 5-ton. You could have done. There's a million different things you could have done other than a big ass Chinook flying. Like, I don't know. And you could
And
have loaded them in the Chinook. There would have been no reason to do the sling load. You could a Chinook itself is a cargo helicopter. It hauls troops and cargo. You can drive a Humvee up on that thing. Like, it's none of it made sense. The logistics.
on it, To go along with the little slideshow of tabloid headlines, we did borrow these from a lot of less than reputable sources because that's who carries them. Okay, I'm sorry,
Hey, we get what we get.
that's right. So we are not in any way saying these sources are reliable in any way, shape, or form. We just, again, as I said at the beginning, we just kind of grabbed a handful of them to talk about because there are a lot more, and you could spend a lot of time talking. We've already spent enough time talking about just a handful of them, so that's why, yeah, you could spend a good dozen shows just talking about these types of things very easily. So, but yes, you definitely want to know, and we want to be very clear that these sources are not reputable sources. This show does have a tabloid headline theme, so take it for what it is. Okay.
Yeah, we try to be a little lighthearted. Like I could have nitpicked the National Guard story to death, but I resisted. I gave my 2 cents. That's all I got.
And we've got a little bit more here to finish things out. It's kind of related, and I wanted to touch on them to kind of close things out here. So I'm going to give you a few here. We have a headline that says, "Is it possible the creature known as Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or by a number of different names all over the world, is an interdimensional traveler?" That's a theory now in play with both Bigfoot and UFO researchers, and one that played heavily into discussions at this weekend's Greater New England UFO Conference held in Leominster. Paranormal researcher William Hall at the convention, ostensibly to talk ghosts, said the paranormal world as a whole is more connected than people realize. But that is beginning to change, at least from the perspective of those involved in ground level research. Hall, who began his paranormal research with UFOs and aliens, said many of the classic signs from human encounters with otherworldly beings, ghosts, aliens, and Bigfoot have similar signs, be they disappearing beings, fast moving objects, or strange lights. As a result, many are starting to think of the fields holistically, he said. It used to be that the UFO people didn't talk to the ghost people because they were a little weird. And nobody would talk to the Bigfoot people because they were crazy, Hall said. I found out we cannot continue to do that in reality. Quantum physics is leading us there, Hall said. It's not a new theory. Writing for the Huffington Post, Dr. Franklin Rule notes such sightings date back to the late 1800s. In modern times, it is a theory that dates back to 1973, but one that is grabbing hold as more and more Bigfoot hunters are reporting run ins with what is known as the orange orbs. My favorite color. All hail the orange orbs. These are fast moving lights that one may think are alien in nature, but seen in areas associated with Bigfoot. Renowned Bigfoot hunter Bill Brock was one of the first to raise the idea about multi-dimensional portals. Brock referenced a recent NASA announcement that magnetic portals may be real. Brock said that he came to believe in them when he traveled to West Virginia to study the Mothman case. But are mysterious orbs transporter beams for Sasquatch? Leominster's Bill Penning believes it is possible. In his first recognized Bigfoot encounter, something large in the woods shook the ground, but vanished quickly. In addition, he found a set of tracks that seemed to indicate something appeared behind a running deer very quickly caught the deer, and then disappeared because both set of tracks ended at that point. Penning's partner, Ronnie LeBlanc, has seen orange orbs in the same area. If the alien theory is true, it solves one of cryptozoology's biggest unanswered questions. If Bigfoot is real, where are the bodies? Where are the animal carcasses left behind? I think somebody was mentioning that in the chat earlier. These portals could be why we don't see any bodies and why there are no bones, Penning said. Jonathan Wilk, founder of Team Sasquatchusets, a Bigfoot research group based in Western Massachusetts, said, YouTube and other internet websites have numerous videos of the orange orbs, but on whether they are related to Bigfoot, he would only go as far to say that he remains open-minded about the idea. I have no official opinion on it, he said. I leave nothing off the table because there are a lot of things we find in our field work that we cannot explain. David McCullough, another member of Team Sasquatchusets, has had his own experience with orbs of bright lights in the woods. Since then, he's said he is more open to the idea of the orbs as portals, which are starting to be reported in every state, often in places known to have Bigfoot sightings. While McCullough said it left him wondering, he did joke that, based on witness descriptions, the portal beings are more like Star Wars Ewoks than the giants known as Sasquatches. Brock, however, is not convinced. He believes in the orbs, since he believes the description of Mothman's giant glowing red eyes and ability to fly is more descriptive of an alien encounter than a Bigfoot encounter. But he has his own theory on the origin of Bigfoot. He believes the creatures are the prehistoric human rivals, the Neanderthals. It's a known fact that human beings and Neanderthals were battling pretty heavy 35,000 years ago, he said. I believe they split at that time and went off into the woods. Under Brock's theory, Neanderthals developed as a species parallel to human beings. But while humans were developing technology in cities, Neanderthals were learning to live in the forests and in hiding from their enemies. Like the portal theory, Brock notes his more earthbound beliefs also answer the questions raised by skeptics. Why are they so hard to find? Tens of thousands of years of experience with camouflage, he noted. Like us, they became masters of their domain, but their domain was the forest. They know how to hide, he said. They actually went beyond being masters of their domain. But that leaves the bodies, right? Not so, Brock said, because Neanderthals were and are cannibals. And I did look it up. There has been some indications that Neanderthals did practice cannibalism in difficult times. So that is true. By eating their bodies, they do two things, he said. First, they feed themselves, and second, they dispose of the bodies. So there you go. Some people believe that Bigfoot is a Neanderthal type human species, an ancestor or cousin between humans and apes. Others believe it is a species of nocturnal ape descended from an extinct genus of 10-foot tall ape called Gigantopithecus. Gigantopithecus was a genus of ape from roughly 2 million to 350,000 years ago. During the middle, I'm messing this all up. During the early to middle Pleistocene of southern China, represented by one species, Gigantopithecus blacki. Potential identifications have also been made in Thailand, Vietnam, and Indonesia. So, are Bigfoots aliens? Are they interdimensional? Are Bigfoots Neanderthals? And we do have evidence that humans got busy with Neanderthals, as some folks have Neanderthal DNA. So, is that the same as getting busy with a Bigfoot? Bigfoot, Neanderthals, cannibals, hybrids? And of course, the reason they give for no bodies are because they are eating the bodies, or they're beamed up, or they go back through these transport orange orbs. And of course, we can't wrap up these evidence claims without taking a look for evidence of Bigfoots in the Bible. Right? We have to check the Bible here. Is that right, Trees? That is
like you
that,
do.
That is what I hear is the book to go to check all these things. So, to wrap up the claims and the physical claims episode, we have to check the good book. So, some people have looked into the Bible and claim to find proof that Bigfoot exists. Usually, the theories involve Esau, Cain, or the Nephilim. Esau was born covered with hair, Genesis 25:25, and his descendants, the Edomites, were enemies of Israel. These facts lead some to speculate that the creatures we call Bigfoot are actually modern day Edomites who have inherited Esau's trait of being a man of the field, Genesis 25:27. Another theory involves Adam and Eve's son Cain. Cain, of course, the first murderer, and he was cursed by God and condemned to be a restless wanderer on the earth, Genesis 4:12. Some theorize that Bigfoot is a descendant of Cain. Like his forebear, Bigfoot is cursed to live apart from the rest of humanity and has become monstrous in his appearance. This would make Bigfoot similar to the fictional monster Grendel in Beowulf. A third theory traces the Sasquatch back to the Nephilim, an antediluvian race of giants produced by the union of fallen angels and human women, Genesis 6:4. Some see the Sasquatch as a remnant of the Nephilim, or perhaps a new breed of creature produced the same way. Still, other Bigfoot enthusiasts use complex Bible codes based on numeric sequences to find the Sasquatch in the scriptures. These numerologists claim to have discovered mentions of Bigfoot, beast of the earth, hairy, and wild man in the Bible, all in the same context. All these theories share a common weakness. The creature they are attempting to explain is legendary. There seems to be no physical evidence for the existence of Bigfoots and Yetis. Beliefs in these creatures is based almost entirely on anecdotes and hearsay. In the hundreds of years that people have been hunting the Sasquatch, no one has ever caught one, dead or alive. Many have claimed to have shot Bigfoot, yet a carcass has never been produced. Bigfoot parts, as we did Parts' parts a couple of times. Bigfoot parts like bones, teeth, and hair have been tested and to be found from known species and not from Bigfoots or Yetis. At least not yet, but we are hopeful. This is not to say that it is impossible for Bigfoots to exist. There could be a rare species of primates living in remote areas. But again, there is no hard physical evidence produced so far. If and when there is good physical evidence produced for Bigfoots and Yetis, we will make sure we cover it here at the Grassman Chronicles. All right, Trees, are Bigfoots in the Bible?
I mean, there's talking donkeys, talking snakes. Uh, I don't I don't see it being that far fetched that there be a Sasquatch or a grass man in the Bible. I don't see why not. And I also wanted to mention I was going to mention it earlier, but I am sick of the body shaming of the Sasquatch, the big hands, the long arms, the big feet. I have a 13-inch foot, like they were blabbing about. My hands go down to my knees, like they were talking about, and I got big hands. So I'm sick of the body shaming of these people. It's getting ridiculous.
We need to get your DNA tested, Trees.
Yeah.
And of course, there is the interdimensional Bigfoot traveling orange orbs, which seems to
We mentioned
explain a
that.
lot.
Hey, what about Betty and Barney Hill though? There was an orange orb in the Betty and Barney Hill story.
There sure was. There, yes, indeed, there was. Yeah.
So now what could that mean in the whole thing?
Well, they didn't mention of
Yeah.
them being. There was no mention of any of those beings being awfully hairy, though. So
No, there wasn't. That's the only.
there
But
was an orange ball.
what if they're like a Wookiee? You know what I mean? So what if the Greys had some Wookiees? Maybe the Wookiees were flying the friggin' spaceship.
Well, and they are shapeshifters, so maybe they just shift into hair mode when they're in the forest and it's cold.
That could be. They could be from a warmer climate where they don't need the hair and maybe they grow it. Maybe that's just an adaptation.
Yeah, because when you see, back in the day when the trackers were out and everything, they had a lot of big, thick clothes on with animal fur for a big top layer, either a jacket or a big throw over themselves, kind of tied off.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so it would naturally, yeah, if you the
An
grays don't
advanced
seem.
civilization. An advanced civilization that's traveling with orbs and spaceships and different wormholes and whatnot. um we don't know how they evolved. Like when they hit our atmosphere and our gravity and all the pH balances in the waters and whatnot, it could trigger something in their DNA to start growing hair, getting bigger feet to get a hold of the unfamiliar terrain, and getting their center of gravity and stuff sorted out from space travel.
I would have to say that an alien species that has some kind of a traveling wormhole that may either put on or, like you said, just morph into a fur coat to keep warm. I would have to say is probably the best explanation we've had tonight.
Yeah, and I pulled that directly out of my hind end just now.
So we're going to have to say that interdimensional orange Bigfoot orbs does give the best explanation because they could pop in and out. They don't live here, so they wouldn't leave traces. You wouldn't have to have breeding populations here because their populations are actually on another planet somewhere.
Yeah.
And they're just coming here to vacation and hunt deer, maybe.
You don't
Maybe
know.
they
It made
really
me
like.
think of like the Predator movies where they would pick up their dead ones because
Mhm.
they had the uh they had the invisibility suit or whatever. They had that ability, so they could just bend light and make themselves invisible. So if they could do that and they just retrieve their dead and put them back on the spaceship, maybe not necessarily eat them, but just take them back to the home base or whatever they got going on.
Yeah, that's got some great answers to it. And it, especially in the 21st century, we could maybe consider it that somebody's visiting us and they are humanoid looking, but when they get cold, they put on a big jacket and maybe increase their body mass. I mean, if they can manipulate their body that much, manipulating your mass too would help keep you warmer. And then
Or
a nice big fur coat on top.
Or it's not them uh, manipulating anything. It's just that's their DNA. Like when they come here, certain chemicals start reacting in their body, and they're like, "Oh, we got to get taller, we got to get bigger feet, we got to get." They're not actually thinking that. It just all happens, and they evolve way more rapidly than on this planet. And where it takes us billions of years, it takes them 20 minutes, and they have evolved into what they need to be more adapted to their little area that they've landed in. And then if they go somewhere else, maybe they hit the desert, maybe they go back to gray time, which would explain Roswell.
We are skeptical here, and a lot of the Bigfoot claims, like the stories we've shown tonight, are completely ridiculous when people are trying to pass off a rubber suit or a plastic skull as evidence. And in comparison with all these other stories, the interdimensional alien Bigfoots with their wormhole orbs is the most reasonable explanation. I don't say I hate to say that, but it seems out of the assortment we have this evening, that one is the most plausible.
But at the same time, you can kind of explain anything away with that. You know what I mean? Like you can the Bible, for example, you can be like, oh well, it's not really saying X, Y, and Z. That was actually aliens that flew down here and they were telling this primitive bunch of humans some shit, and they wrote it down like this and thought it was God or whatever. You can add that to anything, and it automatically makes it more plausible. Or not anything, but you know what I mean. You add that to big wild claims, and then it kind of sounds like, well, yeah, we don't know what's out there, so maybe aliens have some kind of, you name it, and they can do it.
Yeah, that again, it's very convenient to answer just about anything, that it just disappears. And but when we are going to talk in any claims about Bigfoot, you've been in the woods a lot. How hard is it to move very quickly and very quietly through heavy, dense forest?
It's not. I mean, to put it simply, but like also you take into consideration uneven terrain, briars.
Now, if the Bigfoot is using some other technology, they seem to effortlessly just glide right through the forest, uphill, downhill, up mountains. I mean, up on if what was it, 19,000 feet up, they found hair.
Yeah,
seems to be very effortless in doing all these things. And again, an advanced technology would help explain that better than any of the physical explanations that would defy anything that we know as physics. I mean, you just can't run through dense forest, uphill, downhill, sideways, at these speeds with no sound and everything else. But if you're using technology we don't know about, it does answer all those questions too. So back to I'm sticking with the alien Bigfoots. I'm gonna have to start looking for orange orbs more often.
well, I just thought of a way to explain away all of our science too, that they or all that, plus they were just skinning the animals that they found the hair from. They just skinned a goat or a fucking sheep or whatever, and they were wearing the pelt, and that's what you found. But they
Oh,
saw the Bigfoot. They saw the alien Bigfoot,
yeah.
but he was wearing, or she or they were wearing the pelts of something they had harvested themselves with their technology. And you
Yeah,
got
maybe,
you got to cut the hair from a goat pelt or something.
maybe they just like the trapper look, the full beard and being all hairy and putting all the fur pelts on. Maybe it's just what's all in chic there in on the Bigfoot
They're
planet.
hipsters. They're some kind of galactic hipster.
Right. Yeah, I like the alien explanations a lot better because when you try to explain these large apes running around in every state without being spotted or roadkill or uh, now they are supposedly shot by hunters, but for some reason
They
the
keep
bodies
turning into like
disappear.
rubber.
They
They
turn
keep
into
turning into
rubber.
like rubber. Yeah.
So
Maybe they're from a like silicone based planet or some shit. Where we're like carbon based or whatever. Like they're rubber based, and they go back to their natural form.
yeah, we went a little long on this episode. Again, there was a lot to cover, and it was a lot of stuff. As you know, like I say, I even made a boo boo in my notes. There was just so much stuff we were putting in, putting out, talking back and forth, and yeah, we could have covered a lot more of these. If you're interested in these kind of things, you'll have no problem finding them. There's lots and lots of stories about Bigfoot hair, Bigfoot parts, and physical encounters that go beyond just a sighting or a blurry photograph. So if you're interested in these things, you have no problem looking them up. I sure didn't. There was just so many that Trees and I just decided we would just kind of pick through and just do a couple. And yeah, a lot of it is tongue in cheek. It is a tabloid thing, but a lot of the stories are just sightings and photographs. So we thought, well, we'd do an episode that would just concentrated on some physical evidence and some frisky Bigfoot encounters. Because they are out there, the claims are out there, and whatever the young woman's name was that claimed she was pregnant with Bigfoot in the spring of 2023, time's up, right?
Yeah, you would think the
If
baby would
she
be
already,
due.
yeah, if she already knew she was pregnant in the spring, let's give her 3 months. Um, I haven't seen the Bigfoot baby in the news, so I think Harold was the husband's name. I think Harold's not going to have a few words for Bigfoot. He's going to have a few words with Mrs. Harold about
Yeah.
where she got pregnant if he can't if he's sterile and can't make babies. So, but
Maybe
yeah,
it was divine.
I did. Oh, Jesus is being reborn. Look out! The second coming is upon us, folks.
Yep.
And it
Harold.
happened. It happened on a camping trip in a tent.
The son of God is now the son of Harold.
The son of Harold. All hail the son of Harold. But I did
Yes.
look around and yeah, I didn't see anything about her showing off her Bigfoot baby. So I'm gonna have
Maybe
to say
maybe she died in a rare suckling injury from the Bigfoot fangs or something. Maybe he
oh,
just ripped her chest off whenever it suckled for the first time, and that was it. Then Harold shot it, and then it's over.
there you go. It's done and over with. It's in one of them it's in one of them big freezers.
The freezer. It's in Harold's freezer now.
In Harold's freezer. So we're not going to find out until an estate sale and somebody comes across Harold's freezer. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, we hope everybody had fun with this. It was a fun episode, and again, we take things as seriously as possible. Here at the Grassman Chronicles, even if we screw up the script a little bit here and there, we do try to present what was out there and what all the different sides are saying and what the science is saying. And bottom line, with all these stories, there's no evidence of any hybrid human Bigfoot babies. All the samples that have been tested have been known species, a lot of bear, cow, deer, dog. And as far as interdimensional traveling Bigfoots, I've already covered some stuff about interdimensional aliens being demons from the Hugh Ross challenge. And so we shall see if an orange orb shows up the next time I'm sky watching. And I know Trees will be on the lookout when he's out in the woods for these orange orbs as well, because I think that's our leading theory now. Whoops.
So we'll see if I make any new discoveries if the weather cooperates.
Yeah, and that's same here. Like I said, I had the bug going around in November, and it was rough. I was down and out, and that's why the show got postponed, and we didn't have one in November. It's my fault. Well, actually, it's the fault of these dang germs, and I don't know what intelligent designer created that thing, but it was, man, it just wouldn't go away. It was all month, and it was just miserable, and so I wasn't up to snuff, and so we were a little behind on the show, and we're just scrapping November, man. So
yeah.
But December is upon us, and we do have plans for the next couple shows. And Trees, tell folks about what we want them to do and what's coming up, and this awesome giveaway plan that you have for Christmas.
All right. Well, first we need 50 subscribers. And when we get 50 subscribers, we will then, that will initiate the giveaway, and we will either pick out something in a previous episode or plant something in a future episode, and you will have to find it or answer a question or whatever. And then we will pick a winner and send you a prize, which will, I don't want to give away what it is, but it will be a Sasquatch hunting kit of sorts. It'll be somewhat of a grab bag of different things, but it will be a value of over $100. So that's, I want to make it as vague as I can, but give you some information about it.
Trees is putting together this giveaway, and I say we want to get everybody over at the Grassman Chronicles channel, and we want to get it up to 50 subscribers. We want to get legit, okay? We want to get things rolling over there, okay? And part of it, and giving back to everybody for helping us out. Trees has got this awesome giveaway coming up, but to win, you got to be subscribed at the Grassman Chronicles, and tell everybody else to subscribe at the Grassman Chronicles if you want a chance to win something from Santa Bigfoot this year. Okay,
that's right.
And we are going to try and get back on track. Call this November's episode, even though we fudged it a few days, but we're going to try and get back on track so it is within the month that we have each month's episode, providing these dang germs are done with us for the season, and we can move on without having to cough constantly. And to be honest, I wouldn't have made it through. We had a lot of reading to do, and I wouldn't have made it through. My voice was shot, and I also was a little slow getting back and forth with trees because when Dave's sick, Dave just don't really care very much about anything, right? So, of course, Trees was understanding that I didn't feel good and everything, and so no worries, we got it worked out, and these things happen, so we muddled through, and I think it was fun talking about having Bigfoot's baby all the same. And
Yeah, I had a good time. Hopefully, the chat seemed to have a good time. So, all in all, I'd say it was a success.
it was a lot of good chats going on and a lot of humorous comments. Appreciate everybody. And I wanted to thank everybody for stopping by and remind everybody one more time that
Go subscribe.
go over to Kentucky Atheist channel,
Yep.
drop a hashtag book in the comments, and
After
he's
you've
giving
subscribed.
away and subscribe. That's right. Subscribe over at the Kentucky Atheist. Get your name down there. He's giving away books from Dave Warnock that are autographed, and it'll help out Dave with his situation and his caretaker and everything he needs. And it's
I believe
easy
he's
thing to do.
battling ALS.
I do believe it is ALS, and he has deteriorated, and of course that's what happens. And we do, and so does he, except that it is terminal. But there are bills to be paid, and let's say Kentucky Atheist got a hold of a handful of these books, and they were bought and paid for, so it is going back in through. And he wants to give them away free to y'all. So make sure you go over there, click hashtag book. Kentucky Atheist is going to hand out some books again. You get a free book for Christmas too. So I mean, look at all this free stuff you can get just from all of us in the community hooking you up for Christmas. Okay. And if you don't
Listen
want
to
to read it for yourself, maybe as somebody you know, you could pass it along as a great stocking stuffer too. Okay.
listen to us heathens celebrating that supposed Christian holiday.
And
We're bringing the atheist cheer and
right.
giving without deity beliefs.
And AR says, yeah, we're at 33. We just need 17 more. All right. So
That's
get the word out. And
dropping
if
a
you aren't,
bucket.
yep, if you aren't already subscribed, get over there and subscribe, and we're going to reward everybody. We'll have, we'll celebrate getting it 50 and kicking it off. And we're going to get things going over on its own channel there. So you'll be able to find us all in one place. And we got the next few episodes already planned out. They're going to be good ones. And we've got more stuff that's in the works for coming up in the spring too. So we got plenty of stuff coming up. We're going to cover a lot of Bigfoot stuff because we do love Bigfoots here at the Grassman Chronicles. And if you like videos like these, make sure you like and subscribe here at the Captive Desk, at the Grassman Chronicles, and at Look at the Trees to get Trees content over there too. He does a lot of good stuff with his Pastor Blasters, his review videos, his outdoor videos, and a little bit of this and that mixed in too. Make sure you subscribe over there. And Bree with Hive Psi, subscribe over there. AR does some cool videos, making jewelry and stuff, cool stuff. Subscribe over there. Tobin, of course, wrote us the awesome Grassman song.
Yep.
Tobin's a friend of the Bigfoot community just as well. Go subscribe over there with Tobin Templeman. And Sumami's got a page, or got a channel. Who else? Mike over at Answers in Atheism. Make sure you check out over Mike. Maya with her Bad Science on Sundays. Sydney, if Sydney's got a channel, get over there too. Ember, of course.
Yep.
Subscribe over there with Ember. They have great stuff over there. And I hope I hit everybody. Much love to everybody. Jur, thanks for the information. Appreciate it. Asho, appreciate it.
Yep.
Dank Slug, appreciate it. And hope I said hello to everybody. Beck was through. A lot of folks stopped by. Appreciate everybody. And I think we're going to wrap things up, Trees. Am I forgetting anything?
Oh, probably, but what are we going to do? We're getting old. We forget things. I'm sorry if we forgot anybody. We probably did, but y'all are awesome. Thanks for watching us.
And, it wouldn't be a Grassman show if I didn't goof up something. I mean, it seems to be the thing, but at least it's not a major power outage while I'm in mid-sentence, because
Right.
that was a big oops there, and it wasn't my fault. It just wasn't. It just seems to happen. The demons are following me around, and they're just bound and determined that I got to goof up at least one little thing. So tonight I lost place on my script, and I apologize. That was a big boner.
Oh well, we caught it.
We recovered, and we got you the information. I did look it up. I do keep all my notes, fortunately, or we wouldn't have had that for you. But I did give that to everybody. So we are gonna put that notebook back where it belongs in the document folder there, and forget that oopsie. And next month is another opportunity to have a clean run. So we're going to shoot for a clean run next month. No power outages, no script errors, and we're going to avoid the big words. And and these dang demons here, they're going to be busy because it's Christmas anyways, and they got all that.
They're worried about Starbucks cups and shit.
Yeah, they got to take care. So we should be good for a little while, all right? All right, folks. Thanks for joining me. Trees, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.
See you later.